All right, no goofy intro, no like memes or nothing. UFC 321 just wrapped up. We just got off stream watching it. Let's talk about this main event, dude. Like, completely disregard everything on the first two slides. Infinite title shot gone, whatever. I'd make a joke about that. No jokes, bro. I'm not in the mood. We're just talking about Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. And man, get off of this dude, Tom Aspinall's nuts. I get that you feel like Tom Aspinall is the reason, like the bane of all other heavyweights, and John Jones ducked this guy, and oh, we're all afraid of Big Tom. Big Tom, oh man, he's finishing all these fights in a minute, bro. Get off this dude's fucking nuts, bro. Like, this is otherworldly glaze. We're talking about this guy, and he's a fan favorite up there with like Charles Oliveira without any accomplishments behind him, dude. This guy's beat Blades, an untested Pavlovich who has been looking like utter garbage, going to split decisions against freaking Waldo Cortez Acosta lately. Like, what are we even doing? We're celebrating this guy as his decorated champion, nothing behind his run. And it's not his fault. Like I said before, it's not his fault. John Jones won't fight him. But mate, what was he doing to control this fight? It's not even about the eye poke. It's just how out of control this fight was for Tom Aspinall, and how he really had nothing, like no answer for what Ciryl Gane was doing on the feet. The wrestling wasn't working. Yeah, I mean, Ciryl Gane was definitely posting like this on Tom Aspinall's face to like clinch break and maintain distance and stuff, which I mean is not okay, and that's what ultimately led to this being a no contest. But Tom Aspinall had no control over this fight, and I thought that it would be the clear opposite. I didn't foresee any type of fluke occurring because I thought that Tom Aspinall would have just had this one in the bag. But what we saw was a very competitive first round, that Ciryl Gane was winning. We saw a bloody Tom Aspinall for the first time. When's the last time you ever saw Tom Aspinall bleed in the UFC octagon? However you felt about the fact that this fight ended the way that it did, when is the last time you've ever seen Tom Aspinall actually have blood drawn from his face in the UFC octagon? It's never happened, and you've never seen it. This felt surreal. Watching Tom Aspinall actually bleed from his face, I really don't have any words. Other than in the rematch, which is inevitably going to happen, Ciryl Gane will get 4 title shots in 4 years. Hopefully they can get it done for like January of this upcoming year in 2025. I'm picking Ciryl Gane. I'm picking Ciryl Gane. And yes, I am going to say it. I know you guys are going to be like, no, that's not what it means. It was only 1 round. John Jones would have whooped Tom Aspinall's fucking ass. Get out of here, bro. Talking about, oh yeah, Tom Aspinall made John Jones duck. Oh yeah, he has Pereira running real good, don't he? Bro, shut up. All you guys need to shut up. And I made that video a while ago talking about Tom Aspinall's fans are cornballs and that I don't really rock with him like that. And I should have honestly just stood on business, bro, and been like, you know what? Even though Ciryl Gane arguably doesn't deserve to be here and he's a Nepo baby on the basis of the fact that he is 6'4" and a Muay Thai kickboxer, I'm going to pick Ciryl Gane. I'm just going to pick him just out of spite for Aspinall. I don't like to do that. It made more sense to go with Tom Aspinall. But it definitely was like crowd bias that I was playing into in making that decision. Tom Aspinall, he wasn't getting dominated, but he was struggling in there. It was... Ciryl Gane had this man acting like out of character. He was throwing like spinning attacks in the octagon. It's like, bro, what have you ever seen Tom Aspinall like smile nervously and throw spinning body kicks, like wheel kicks to the body? They weren't even like spinning back kicks. Just some weird shit, bro. This was so weird. Ciryl Gane came in looking really good, nice shape. Fucking amazing jab. He started on that early. Busted up Tom Aspinall's nose with the left hand. Tricky southpaw boxing. Kicks were looking good. Good push kicks up the center. Was landing like this really good knee stomp on Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall blew out his right knee, I think it was, whenever he fought Curtis Blades the first time. So it's not like that was like a compromised leg of his that was getting stomped on. But I mean, it was hyperextending whenever he would enter in the pocket, slowing down his entries. His blitzes weren't working. Wrestling wasn't working. Ciryl Gane looked like he was dictating the pace of that fight, and he was commanding the space on the feet against Tom Aspinall. And we must reflect on what this means, because it doesn't mean nothing. It's not like they had a fight and then there was an eye poke and, oh, well, I mean, what could have happened? It was to the point where it looked like Tom Aspinall was going to need to have caught Ciryl Gane with something completely random and out of the blue in order just to get back into this one, because he was getting tuned. Like, he was getting tuned up. I'm going to say what it is. Like, this isn't even like bias against Aspinall. This is just what I saw. Ciryl Gane, if we're going by damage-based scoring, he won the first round. He won it handedly. He was jabbing up Tom Aspinall, landing the left hand, eating some shots, but they weren't flush. Ciryl Gane, no blood on his face. Tom Aspinall looks like he ate a freaking cherry pie with both of his hands behind his back. So, I mean, that doesn't mean nothing. We can't act like that doesn't mean anything, because it does. I'm picking Gane in the rematch, you guys. I have to. I'm gonna pick Gane in the rematch. And, dude, honestly, like, I know that MMA Guru has told all of you guys, oh, well, Jones is gay. And Jones, he fought a murderer's row of inflated middleweights. And Jones, we shouldn't give him respect for his accolades in the UFC because they're tainted by steroid usage. Whenever we're looking at, like, the quality of the performances, aside from certain ones like Reyes, we'll even give the Thiago Santos one a pass. It's like, dude, what are we going to say about this, right? Yeah, I mean, it seems like the IPO kind of bailed out Aspinall. If we're going to be critical of fights that John Jones ended up winning on Tapology, then what do we say about this one? Because, I mean, everyone came down on Belal Muhammad and treated him like a laughing stock whenever there was an even worse eye poke, right? And he had just gotten beat up by Leon Edwards. And yes, the first round leaving you and then the fight being ended by no contest. If anything, if we learn in the rematch with Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards, that still means that the fight is up for grabs. But how much better can Tom Aspinall get? What differing approach could Tom Aspinall use in order to control this fight better than he did this time? Because he was using all of his weapons. Tried to wrestle. Tried his blitzes. Those weren't working. Catching Ciryl Gane at the tip of his punches. Ciryl Gane's chin looked like it was holding up like pretty well against the offense of Tom Aspinall. I'm not impressed. I'm not convinced yet, you guys. I think this guy is, like, exceedingly average for what we've talked him up to be. This isn't like God's gift to the heavyweight division in the UFC. We've seen better heavyweights. We just had a better heavyweight champion. Just nobody likes him because of their own personal vendettas. Or they're just regurgitating the vendettas of a guy who they like to watch on YouTube, which is gay. Let me just call it what it is. It's gay. If you can't think for yourself and you just default to another man's opinion just because, I mean, thinking is hard and you just want him to do the thinking for you, that's gay. Just letting you know right now. You might like boys. You might have one sitting in your lap as you're watching this video right now if, like, you're a ride or die Tom Aspinall fan. You might be texting a femboy on the phone. You might be on the phone like FaceTime with the femboy right now. I'm kind of losing the plot, but I mean, you get what I'm trying to say, dude. Like, we need to be thinking for ourselves here. I could have analyzed this matchup a bit more critically instead of just defaulting to the groupthink that was, you know, Tom Aspinall is the greatest heavyweight ever, and there will never be another heavyweight that's as good as he is because he's the best ever. It goes a lot deeper than that. And yeah, styles do make fights. Ciryl Gane seems to have a perfect foil for Tom Aspinall as like this super fast striker. Ciryl Gane is fast in his defense. He's quick and he's slick with it too. The kickboxing of Tom Aspinall was completely mitigated by Ciryl Gane's work on the feet. So I can't believe it. For one, the reason why I'm spending so much time talking about this versus getting on to other fights is because I really don't believe it. It's crazy, but it happened. And I won't forget that it happened. And I'm not going to like do mental gymnastics in my own brain to make it seem like it wasn't what it was. Ciryl Gane was whooping that ass. And then this fight, right? Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern. I got this one right in my prediction. But to be fair, I had some pretty low confidence on this one as far as like what the result was going to be. But tell me why Mackenzie Dern actually developed some striking since 2020. She's working with Jason Perillo at the Ruka gym. And that's the same coach of Chito Vera. And tell me why, weight class for weight class, Mackenzie Dern is a better striker at women's strawweight than Chito Vera is as a striker in bantamweight. In the boxing, Mackenzie Dern's boxing is actually pretty freaking solid. And that was something that kind of blew me away, was that she looked really good on the feet. And she was landing these overhands on Virna Jandiroba that were making an audible sound. And they were like thudding. She was crashing into her. She wasn't falling all over her feet like she would in the past. Her kickboxing looked pretty good. She was landing this good outside leg kick. Mackenzie Dern in the past would throw high kicks, and then it would always end up with her on her back because she slipped. And then this would be like kind of like a guard pull. And girls would be like, oh, she fell! And they would jump into her guard and get subbed. And I mean, that just doesn't happen anymore. And since Mackenzie Dern has figured out that part of her game, she's always had the grappling. And the wrestling actually isn't bad either. And she's pretty good at scrambling too and getting sweeps if she does get taken down. Because Virna Jandiroba was able to take her down. But the real story of this was effective striking. And Mackenzie Dern really had that on lock, which was like interesting. And I'm not going to act like I wasn't like on stream swiping on Tinder this whole time, right? For the majority of the fight until I ran out of matches. Because I was. I definitely was. But I saw enough to know that Mackenzie Dern definitely won this fight, and it really wasn't up for debate. Virna Jandiroba looks so much scarier than she actually is. Her striking is bad, and her wrestling is like okay, but there was no type of meaningful control that she was able to produce from the takedowns that she was able to score over Mackenzie Dern. It was just control. And I'm glad that the narrative towards that is kind of changed after the Almeida fight. Almeida, we're going to talk about that one in a little bit, but like, I was actually pretty satisfied with this. Mackenzie Dern, she had mentioned it at the very end of the fight. I guess she joins Fabricio Verdum as being the only fighter in combat sports to have won IBJJF, ADCC, and UFC Gold. So she has 3 titles that are like the biggest in grappling and the biggest in MMA too. So she's legit. And people were talking about, oh yeah, who do you think is next for Mackenzie Dern? Because I don't really have much confidence for her in her next title defenses. Tatiana Suarez was tied with Virna Jandiroba as the number 1 contender in this division. We have Tabitha Ricci maybe doing something here. Other than that, it's like Lupi Godinez. But it's like, I mean, I don't think so. I personally don't see it. I don't see her just slicing up Mackenzie Dern's guard. And I think that the takedowns are going to be really hard for her to work through. And she was getting hit with some really big shots by Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade at women's strawweight is an entirely different type of power. But I'm telling you, Mackenzie Dern was actually hitting pretty hard in this fight. So it's definitely not going to go unnoticed. We have a new champion here. I hope that Zhang Wei Li will be able to beat Valentina Shevchenko. But I'm nervous for her, dude. I really am. So Mackenzie Dern wins. She is the new women's strawweight champion of the world. Virna Jandiroba is at a crossroads and she's looking both ways at the different directions she could take at it. All right, so look, man, I hate the internet so much, dude. I really do. I just laugh at it at this point. Before I was like, man, I'm leaving, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Whenever I was like going through my little funk, right, and I retired. But now the internet just makes me laugh because people have these like super loud opinions and they just be wrong, dude. And it's so corny. People are just like, man, you know what? I'm still mad at Mario Bautista for the Jose Aldo fight, which was like 2 years ago at this point. Just guru meat writers. But then they say, but now I have a little bit more respect for Mario Bautista after this one, which is a fight that he didn't even win. And to be fair, he looked really good. But if you didn't warm up to Mario after you beat Patchy Mix and Patchy Mix's debut, then like, what is you doing? If you couldn't at least acknowledge the fact that Mario Bautista did have the skill to do what he did to Jose Aldo and to mitigate damage to himself after we saw fighters like Ayman Zahabi nearly get finished by Aldo and win with control at the very end of the fight. I mean, that was like a fresh Aldo that Mario Bautista was able to wrestle like that. And that's a testament to how good the wrestling of Mario Bautista is. With the takedown defense of Jose Aldo to be able to control a fight like that, the counter wrestling of Aldo is some of the best in this division. And it was the best in his prime at featherweight. So, I mean, dude, Mario Bautista is a really good wrestler. And that's something that has been public knowledge. And people are just now coming around to the fact that that is something that's true. And this is a fight that he even lost. And people are just using respect for Mario Bautista to discredit the win of Umar. And I don't think that that's fair. Because what did Umar come out here and do? He came out, landed a trip on Mario Bautista very early. Looked like he was going to net some pretty cheeky control time. He ends up getting toe-holded by Mario Bautista. Like foot folded over, like an inward. Changes the angle on the lock. I thought his leg was just going to snap. This guy is nutty enough to allow something like that to happen. So I was like, man, bye-bye ankle. Umar Nurmagomedov somehow makes it out of that toe hold. And it doesn't seem like his ankle is broken. Which, I mean, we did deal with a broken ankle earlier up the card. And that was really gross. We'll end up talking about that at some point too. But Umar did a good job. He survived the toe hold. And then he took the back. And I knew he was fine as soon as he started wrapping up body triangles. Because if his ankle was broken, that would have been so painful. They wouldn't have been able to do it. So he might just be built different and broke his ankle and still was attacking back takes with using the body triangle, which, I mean, would have put insane pressure on his broken ankle. So, like, this guy has bones made out of rubber tendons in order to not have his whole shit fucked up by that toe hold. That was some really nasty stuff. It was getting cranked hard. Mario Bautista, though, was doing a good job of surviving. He gets dominated for the large majority of the first round after he does have this little flash in the pan of almost subbing Umar Nurmagomedov. Was landing some pretty good shots at range, though. Umar was able to land some control without damage. But, I mean, he was controlling the fight. So, I would say cumulatively, he was able to win the first round and the second round. And this could have been clean sweep for Umar. Arguably, the only round that you could have given to Mario Bautista would have been the second round where he did drop Umar Nurmagomedov. But what did Umar do after this? It was like a knee that like went up the middle and it landed on his chest, but the shin went across his chin and it like kind of like lowered him, and then he recovered immediately. Umar just got right back on the wrestling, ended up getting some good control time, got back to his feet, and then started lacing Mario Bautista in the stand-up. So, I mean, what more do you want from this guy? He beat Corey. Had a really good fight with Merab. This is the only dude who can beat him at bantamweight. And now we beat Mario Bautista, which for sure this is a title eliminator. It's probably Umar's best showing in the octagon against a really high-level opponent. He should get the next shot. He should definitely get the next shot. If something were to happen to Peter Yan in preparation for the Merab fight, definitely just send Umar in there to rematch him, because like this guy, he has. I think he's got it, man. I think he could do it. I think that a healthy Umar Nurmagomedov is able to beat Merab Dvalishvili. I think that the fact that he broke his hand is the reason why that fight didn't go the way that it was supposed to, which would have been Umar ultimately becoming champion on that night. I'll pick him again. I picked him the first time. I think that he beats Merab. There's a difference between being a Dagestan fighter and then being an Abdulmanap trained fighter. Those guys who are of the Nurmagomedov surname who actually train with Abdulmanap, they're different. And it's so hard to root against them because you know they just got something for whatever matchup that they're in. They're not just going to be ever able to just be counted out in any fight that they're involved in. That's Khabib, that's Usman, that's Umar, that's Islam. But if you're part of that initial 4 grouping of people, minus Tagir and Abu Bakr, Manap they used to call him, you're serious. And I'm gonna root for you. I'm gonna predict that you win your fights, at least. If I'm not like rooting for you, standing up in my chair, like clapping over my head. This was going to be an Umar Nurmagomedov win unless something horribly catastrophic would have happened, like another broken hand, or if that ankle did end up getting popped. So I was vindicated in actually saying that the fight was gonna go this way, and it did. This fight gave me white knuckles, and both of these fighters suck. I'm sorry. I don't like to be critical of these guys who compete at MMA at the highest level, but Jailton Almeida, he needs to be stopped. They got to seriously consider not re-signing him. Even with as scarce as the talent is at heavyweight, this guy can't be allowed to just hang around and then win fights the way that he likes to win them. Oh my God, bro. He has to be stopped. Somebody's got to do something about the Jailton Almeida problem at 265. This guy thinks it's okay to just fuck men. I don't know how else to put it. He just be fucking dudes in this division. And it's like, hey, yo, Jailton, get your ass on, boy. As soon as the fight started, high crotch. Jailton Almeida ends up finishing the high crotch. It was like Volkov was trying to pull guard, try to kick him off and do a sweep that way. But he's just too long and gangly that it just wasn't working. So he would just end up on his back. And he would just welcome Jailton into his guard. And Volkov has the frame and the size and the weight behind him to be able to get sweeps with Jailton Almeida on top of him. Because I mean, dude, look at their respective weights. They weren't too far off from this. I think that Jailton Almeida weighed in 237, and then Volkov was around the same weight here that he is written on that chart. Volkov was just accepting bottom positions, man. And he got to one sweep at the very beginning of the first round. He was able to land some good shots on Jailton and control to largely win the first round. But it came down to round 3 because in round 2, another high crotch. Every single time that Jailton Almeida had dead space on the feet, he would either throw one strike or no strikes at all and then just get right into a takedown. And he would complete it because Volkov just doesn't grapple or doesn't have skilled wrestlers at his gym. This dude is Russian. Go find an Olympian to go train with, dude, or something, man. Something. I was really disappointed in the fact that Volkov's takedown defense is this bad. And it wasn't even against a guy who had the frame to outmuscle him and to do what Jailton Almeida was able to do to him. Volkov getting dealt with by Tom Aspinall the way that he was, I don't think that speaks very much to how good Tom Aspinall is per se. I think that just means that Volkov is just generally an easy fight to win in this division. People were like, oh, well, it should be Volkov challenging for the title. He didn't just get out-wrestled by Ciryl Gane with a broken foot. The only reason why that fight sucks so bad is because Ciryl Gane had a broken foot. We can pop even a photo of the x-ray up here. His foot was completely smashed, and he still beat Alexander Volkov in the wrestling, and Ciryl Gane doesn't even do that. Both of these guys are some dog water, bro. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But I'm glad that Volkov won this decision because I picked Volkov. And I would have felt so wrong about watching Jailton Almeida get to celebrate a win after all he did was just lay on Volkov and not throw any strikes. It would just control without any damage. Volkov just getting laid on. This is the quintessential definition of a lay and pray performance out of Jailton Almeida tonight. And I'm glad that he was not rewarded with his win money by performing this way, dude. This shit honestly pissed me off really bad. So yeah, Volkov wins the decision. This is a very forgettable fight. The only thing I'm going to remember is that both of these guys are a steaming pile of dog shit. And that heavyweight is actually baked if this is number 3 and 4 in the division. Like, bro, oh my god. This fight is like, after going 4 and 4 on the prelims, starting off 4 and 5 on the main card, after inaccurately predicting this fight, that was about to piss me off. I was like, okay, so we're doing this now on the main card? Aleksandar Rakić, the only way that he can salvage his MMA career at this point is to go up to heavyweight. Because, dude, what does he even be doing out there? Against Azamat Murzakanov, this guy was closing in the distance to wrestle. After he was working a really good strategy in the early going by using his range to box at a distance, throwing kicks, chipping away. And then he was like, you know what? I think it's time that I start shooting. Why? Why would you do that? Because you know that Azamat Murzakanov's plan is to try to knock you out by closing the distance and to get a read on your entries. And Aleksandar Rakić was just entering no man's land whenever he could, it seemed like. Just serving up the KO. This pissed me off so bad. I said in my predictions that this fight was going to go a lot like Azamat Bakoyev versus Yusri Belgaroui. And it looked like it was heading to be that way. I was smirking. I was cheesing. I thought that this was going to be an easy, cheeky W for Aleksandar Rakić. But something that really did throw me off in the build-up of this was the fact that Azamat Murzakanov did train with Khabib for this camp. So I was like, man, we might actually be fried. But I thought that that would have meant that he would have came out to wrestle. But Aleksandar Rakić was the one who started wrestling in it. And it was only really successful at stalling out the action for a little bit. And I was so confused by his decision to do this because what he had been doing in the stand-up prior to getting knocked out after wrestling, it was working. The kickboxing was working, maintaining range, throwing spears at this guy, it was working. But he just couldn't keep it up for whatever reason. Rakic's IQ is his downfall. This is like a Michael Chandler level of like, what are you doing? The things that he does do in his fights that work, he always moves away from them and then plays the game of the fighter that he is fighting to ultimately lose to that person. Went away from the low kicks against Magomed. Went away from the low kicks against Yuri Prochazka. His keys to victory were literally those tools he was able to effectively use. I can't really speak too confidently about Rakić versus Yuri because we know after seeing Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka, Yuri is just different. But at least against Magomed, Rakić could have won that fight. Sure, he could have won that fight. This fight, I feel like he could have won if he was just smarter and just stuck to a better game plan. And yeah, I'm coping, dude, because Murzakanov ended up absolutely separating this man from his donkey. But I hated to see it because Aleksandar Rakić, a guy in my chat, I think his name is Zach. He's a guy who frequents my live streams. He just says that Rakić could never turn that corner. You got to let me know who it was who did say that in the comment section, whether or not it was him. But Rakić just can never turn that corner. I don't know what it is. All the talent, all the skills. He was healthy and he wasn't able to get up to KO on different occasions. It looked like he was about to lose the Jan Blachowicz fight and he was getting beat up. It's just like, I don't know what he's good at. Came out, good, cool, aura-filled walkout. Listen to Serbian-ass Elden Ring music. Like, it was cool. It was cool. It looked like it was going to be a Rakić homecoming. And then he just sold it. Really pissed me off, bro. I really did not like this watch. That added to the fact that Azamat Murzakanov actually knocked out Rakić with a jab. Like, dude, if it would have happened any other way, I would have been cool with it. But it was a jab. It was a step-in jab as Rakić was changing levels to attack the body with his own jab. He got laid out. So, Murzakanov wins via round 1 KO. It was like more like a TKO, but yeah, dude. Azamat Murzakanov is about to be like ranked number 7 in this division. This guy could literally vie for a title shot next. With as weak as this division is. My goodness. Azamat, oh my god. I really wonder who Azamat Murzakanov does and does not beat in this division. Because he surprised me so much all the way leading up until now. These fights that I thought that he wasn't going to win, he's just won them. And now he's top 10, so it's like, who stops this guy? 5'10", 205er, you guys. This guy has some serious power. I'm sick to my stomach. All right, so now we're going to talk about Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkilld. Nasrat Haqparast got his body caught, which is kind of nuts because we just saw him have like a war with Esteban Ribovic in his last fight. And, I mean, there was no flush head kick that landed, but, I mean, it's not like they weren't throwing hammers at each other. And Nasrat Haqparast's chin was getting tested a little bit. At least it looked like he could take a shot. Nobody can really take the shot that Quillan Salkilld was able to land and knock him out, though. Really scary stuff. Quillan Salkilld was able to wrap his foot all the way around, like this part of the mid-level of the head of Nasrat Haqparast, had his legs shaking like a dog whenever you scratched behind their ears, as he was just unconscious on the ground. Was laid there for a little bit, too. Quillan Salkilld, in the early going of this fight, was throwing low kicks, throwing body kicks. Those were working. He was throwing overhands at a distance. He was throwing jabs at a distance, straight punches. Those were landing moderately too, just because of the range advantage that he did possess. He was trying to chain these punches and kicks into takedowns, but he was shooting like Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's reference. He was shooting like Foxy from FNAF, right? Just lunging at Nasrat Haqparast from across the cage, and his takedowns were failing. And I was like, dude, is he not going to be able to wrestle Nasrat Haqparast? And I picked Quillan Salkilld by decision under the impression that wrestling would be his pathway to victory. Oh, I regret all of my choices leading up to now. And just as like that is setting in and me being like, dude, Quillan Salkilld is about to get his head boxed off for the next 10 minutes. He just rips this beautiful high kick and sleeps Nasrat Haqparast. And I love whenever a KO this sleepy happens and I'm looking right at my screen. Oh my God. That's why I watch the sport. Moments like that. I don't care about being right or wrong. We did actually end up going like 7-5, I think, on this card. But yeah, this was a sleepy KO. This is what I watch a sport for. I watch people get absolutely shadow realmed. And that's exactly what happened here. Quillan Salkilld got to enjoy victory in Abu Dhabi against what we could consider a home team fighter. Hopefully Nasrat Haqparast can rest up. This guy probably is CTE'd out to the same degree as Mateusz Rebecki. And that was just one performance that led to that happening. So I shouldn't really say one performance because, I mean, I'm on record in documenting Jandiroba as having one of the worst knockouts ever over Nasrat Haqparast in his fight with him. So this guy needs to rest his CTE brain for a little bit is what I'm trying to say. The next fight right before the end of the prelims was Ikram Aliskerov versus Junyoung Park. Ikram Aliskerov was training with Khabib and had Khabib in his corner, so that like kind of put me at ease as far as whether or not he would be able to win this decision at least, or get a knockout or finish of some type. Junyoung Park, though, has some really interesting skills. He has weirdly good boxing. It's not horrible by any stretch of the imagination. And he's able to win certain exchanges, and he has the durability to keep walking forward through whenever he is losing in the stand-up to make it look like he's doing better in the striking than he actually is doing. Like, this entire fight was really just a jab and a cross out of Ikram Aliskerov on the feet and then well-timed takedowns in order to get the fight into wrestling sequences. And that was pretty much like the entire 15 minutes. Junyoung Park, though, his boxing was actually like pretty sharp tonight. He was starting to the body and then he was coming up high with shots right afterwards. And he was actually landing on Ikram Aliskerov. Nothing of super high significance, but he was scoring and there was visible damage on Ikram's face after a little bit. Khabib was giving Ikram Aliskerov some really good pointers that were translated while they were in the corner. He was telling Ikram, don't show him that you're tired. If you show him that you're tired, he will finish you. Stay disciplined in the striking, something like this. And then whenever he starts to chase, shoot a double leg. And that was working. And he was timing Junyoung Park on his entries. Whenever he would start lunging at Ikram Aliskerov after he cornered him into one part of the octagon. And he would take him down in the middle of the cage. Was able to take the back from there. We had a couple of performances where dudes were getting pantsed this fight, and then Chris Barnett, you probably saw the photo of that man's butt cheeks out. These guys were doing plumber crossplays, Junyoung Park and Chris Barnett in their fights. This was a very intelligent performance by Ikram Aliskerov, who had less stamina than Junyoung Park in the third round and just at all points of the fight. And that could have just been down to the fact that he was working harder. But Ikram Aliskerov was doing a really good job of clinching in open range whenever it looked scary for him on the feet, and then shooting takedowns whenever things got really spicy. And these were at like the best times that he could have shot takedowns to get control that he really needed in order to seal rounds. This was like a textbook Coach Khabib performance here where it's like no risk involved, but you just win. And he tells you exactly how to win soundly, and you follow the game plan, and you get hand raised. This is what happened here. This fight, Mateusz Rebecki versus Ludoveit Klein. Okay, so it's like, Rebecki, I mean, dude, he could have done this. I don't feel like dumb for picking Rebecki in my predictions. He could have done this. It could have happened. But he did not. He did not. I mean, in the early going, he was pressuring Ludoveit Klein. Ludoveit Klein was basically kiting this man around like a Dark Souls boss. I used to say that a lot. I don't anymore. Just because we haven't seen a performance like this in a while. Ludoveit Klein was fighting off of the back foot, doing it really well, landing some really good counters on Mateusz Rebecki whenever he would enter. Mateusz Rebecki, he looks like one of those like photos of dogs that ate bumblebees within like absorbing 2 or 3 combinations from whoever he's fighting. His face muscles are made out of like marshmallows, dude, with the way that they just inflate. His face is like an airbag. He gets like some solid impact and like it's really nuts, dude. I saw Mateusz Rebecki chicken dance within the first 30 seconds of this fight, and I was like, but I knew at a certain level that was just activating him and that he would come alive. It looked like he was getting his at certain moments of this fight, but the things that really surprised me about this matchup that I didn't anticipate being the way that they were was the ineffectiveness of Mateusz Rebecki's wrestling and the fact that they weren't 50-50 exchanging at all. Mateusz Rebecki is really bad at closing the distance and putting a fighter's back to the cage. He's always fighting with dudes out in open range in the middle of the cage, and his style requires him to pin people, or else they can just move out of the way of these really big overhands. His offense is super ineffective most of the time in fights against guys who have good mobility or an ability to counter strike, and that was Ludoveit Klein here. Ludoveit Klein was able to do pretty much whatever he wanted to Mateusz Rebecki. What Ludoveit Klein was doing really well, other than these counters, was he was kickboxing, and he was throwing kicks at the very end of his combos, and they were landing over the top, striking Mateusz Rebecki with his hands down a lot of the time, and just catching him partially. But they were still catching him, and Mateusz Rebecki was definitely wearing the damage of getting boomed on by these kicks the way that he was. This dude, Rebecki, is like speed running the grave after getting beaten up the way that he has in the last year. Oral by Carlos Diego Ferreira, Chris Duncan, and then this fight. This dude takes so much damage. 4 fights in the last year, I think it was, the last calendar year, and he's just bleeding for fun. Unless he just needs money, maybe he's like in debt with the mob or something. This guy is just getting smashed. All of his fights, he's just getting smashed. Rebecki's face looked like a horror movie in this one, dude. He looked like Lin May with like after all those fillers and injections. Rebecki's face was gross, dude. But you want to talk about gross? The most disgusting thing that happened in this fight was an elevated takedown that Mateusz Rebecki landed on Ludoveit Klein, pulling him off of the cage, that resulted in Ludoveit Klein falling directly on his own ankle, and he basically got toe held by the canvas of the octagon, and it popped his ankle, and it just busted right there on the spot. Bust. And it was weird because I watched it happen, and then like Ludoveit Klein just kind of stopped wrestling, and he shelled up, and I was like, wait, why is this man turtled right now? There was no damage that happened to him. He was freaked out over the fact that his ankle was destroyed, and Mateusz Rebecki saw this as an opportunity to land some really vicious ground and pound, elbows, hammer fists, shots to the side of the head, legal shots that were doing a lot of damage to Ludoveit Klein. Round 3 could have been scored as a 10-8. I think that the homies at the judging table had scored one of the other 2 rounds as a 10-8 for Ludoveit Klein as well. So we ended up getting like a 28-27 scorecard or something weird like this, dude. This was a CTE classic. I was at least right about that, but I really wish that Mateusz Rebecki was able to mount that comeback in round 3. The decision was read to Ludoveit Klein as he sat on a stool with like his ankle all swollen. He said immediately after the fight was over that he felt like his shit was broken. It wasn't enough for Mateusz Rebecki to mount this type of comeback though, and so he ended up losing the fight. Sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. Real life, bro, Valter Walker is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I don't fuck with the fact that he be on the internet in blackface, like saying nigga and stuff, cause like, who gave this man the pass? But I mean, this is still my boy, low key. I like his gimmick so much, and I like how like faithful he stays to it. This man, Louie Sutherland, must not have internet or something. Because he literally, like, he got taken down by Valter Walker after he landed an overhand. And then Valter Walker bunched both of his legs together in a grip like this. And Louie Sutherland was just chilling, not scrambling or working at all to get back to his feet. And so he turned just the slightest, and Valter Walker just rips a heel hook. And that was like, those are the only 2 things that happened in this fight. Louie Sutherland landing an overhand that was transitioned into a takedown, and then Valter Walker snatching the heel hook and then completing it. And the fight was over in like a couple of minutes, dude. Maybe like 1 minute and some change. Nobody can stop Valter in this division. The heel hook is literally the hard counter to the blob meta. And this was evidence of it. His last 4 fights have been evidence of the fact that the heel hook is the hard counter to the current blob meta of the heavyweight division. Being close to 265 pounds as a heavyweight is like the method, right? You want to be heavy. You got a density max in this division. And that's going to help you win fights in general. Especially if you have a big frame, you're just going to beat different people by default. If you have cardio to make it to 15 minutes, you'll be able to out-wrestle them. And your punches will hurt worse because you're denser. You have more mass. But Valter Walker has found a way to exist in this weight class as a guy who doesn't have to clock in at around 260 pounds. Just by snatching these heel hooks, dude. And it's going to continue to work. This isn't just like some type of bit, like, and even if it is, he's committed to it to the point where it's like it's got to be taken seriously at some point. This guy could literally mount a title run and get to a belt by just ripping heel hooks, man. I don't think that there's a guy in this division that he couldn't heel hook, and he's just doing jiu-jitsu. Like, this isn't even MMA. All he has to do is just maybe rely on his chin sometimes in order to get to double leg entries, but from there he's just doing jits, man. And this guy, like, he can't be stopped. I'm going to get a fucking dismembered foot chain and I'm gonna wear that bitch while I watch Valter Walker fight. The next time that he does, I should have done it, bro. I'm sure the Halloween store would have had like a dismembered foot that I could have put like a bead necklace or something. I'm going to end up getting one for the next time that Valter Walker fights, bro. This is my boy. This is one of my favorite Brazilian fighters. It's like Pantoja, my favorite Brazilian fighter, and then Valter Walker right afterwards, man. This is my guy. I really rock with his performances and what he's been able to accomplish in this division for sure. Louie Sutherland, it's got a cool name, the Vanilla Gorilla, but we learned nothing about this guy as far as what he's capable of at heavyweight because he's got shit on so bad. All right, this fight, Jose Miguel Delgado versus Nathaniel Wood. Am I tripping? You guys got to let me know if I'm tripping. Rounds 1 and 3, Jose Miguel Delgado. Am I tripping? I was looking online and people were like, nuh-uh, Nathaniel Wood, rounds 2 and 3, clearly. Accuracy over output. Which, I mean, it's like, dude, how are we going to say accuracy over output? Whenever none of the shots were putting down Jose Delgado, and he had less visible damage dealt to him through 3 rounds. A majority of Nathaniel Wood's lands through rounds 2 and 3 were leg kicks as well. And Jose Miguel Delgado was opening up the nose of Nathaniel Wood and making it even more crooked after he was able to land a spinning back fist in the first round, which put Nathaniel Wood down bad. And yes, he did get dropped too, but I mean, if we could go damage for damage as far as what the drop was able to accomplish for each fighter, Jose Miguel Delgado had the far more significant moment in the early going of this fight. I thought that he won. And I normally don't like to come out and be like, well, no, that was a robbery. But dude, I mean, bro, this time, I might actually say it. I might actually say the R word, you guys. That might have been a row berry. In the early going of this fight, I saw Jose Miguel Delgado miss a couple of like punches that he threw in combinations. Nathaniel Wood was getting going with like a really strong leg kick early. And then Jose Miguel Delgado threw an inside low kick, which landed on the cup of Nathaniel Wood. And I was like, oh, damn. And then he throws that high kick and it misses and he comes back around with the spinning back fist. And like that was the most significant moment of the fight. Definitely wins round 1 in my opinion. But then round 3, like I thought that Miguel Delgado was doing a really good job of mixing in knees. He was switching stances really well, letting his hands go in combinations. His kicks were looking good as well. I was really impressed with what I saw out of Jose Miguel Delgado. It was a really grindy fight for both guys. We learned a lot about Jose Miguel Delgado, who hasn't really had much other than very clear performances where he wins by finish. So I thought that he should have been rewarded for that. I feel like that kind of fell on deaf ears. I feel like this is just kind of the nature of Nathaniel Wood's fights, dude, is that like they're always super grindy and close. Nobody wins decisively in a Nathaniel Wood fight. It's either him arguably getting robbed against dudes like Muhammad Naimov, or this happens and nobody's satisfied in either event. And like I feel like the only way that you're gonna argue that Nathaniel Wood handily won the fight is if you're English or you're just a Nathaniel Wood fanboy. I really thought that Jose Delgado won that fight. You guys can let me know in the comment section below if I'm like tripping, bro, but I just don't. I was really surprised here. Would maybe won on takedowns in round 3, but I don't think that he outworked or outlanded Jose Miguel Delgado at any significant rate that would have made it so that I personally, as a judge, would have given him the fight. But again, let me know what you guys think, man. I might just be tweaking, but that's how I saw it. The third fight of the card, Chris Barnett versus Hamdi Abdelwahab at heavyweight. Alright, so I mean, like, Hamdi Abdelwahab, it was brought to my attention. I mean, I guess I did know about this, but I just forgot because you would never guess. This is what happens whenever you come off of steroids. This is how you nuke your body whenever you come off of steroids. Hamdi Abdelwahab is a guy with the physique of a person who blasted gear and then just stopped taking it. Because look at the way that he looks. This man had moves to the highest degree, and he was just wrestling. This was honestly the funniest like opening of a fight that I've ever seen at heavyweight. Shoots a blast double across the cage, and the way that Chris Barnett like ran with Hamdi and then fell was like, oh god, it was so funny, dude. Made me laugh so hard. I was chuckling throughout this entire fight just because of how funny it looked to watch. Hamdi Abdelwahab was doing pretty much everything better than Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett can't wrestle, doesn't have a strong base to be able to defend takedowns, doesn't have good striking. I guess he throws a wheel kick, and he went for it at one point in this fight, but it didn't land. Chris Barnett literally had no moments in this fight. He was just getting dominated by Hamdi Abdelwahab. This was a really long watch. Like, I mean, this fight felt like it took forever to get over with. These guys both need steroids. That would have made this fight a lot better as if both of them were allowed to take gear. This fight really just made me miss Guzzi Hines, dude, because this would have been probably one of the opponents that they would have had fight with. Alvin Hines. I would have liked to have seen Guzzi fight with Hamdi Abdelwahab instead of Chris Barnett if he was still around in the UFC, but I mean, this was just like something to do, man. It was just a blob fest, man. And I'd be lying to you guys if I said that I didn't really enjoy it. And it was funny because, I mean, we did get to see Chris Barnett's butt because he was just getting wrestled by Hamdi Abdelwahab and didn't use the drawstring on his shorts for some reason. Maybe they got untied. Tie better knots, Chris Barnett. We don't want to see your butt. He was wearing Reebok's underwear as well, which, I mean, fine this man for not wearing a Venom underwear. A pair of Venom underwear. Like, what are you doing, man? We're not under contract with them anymore. The first 3 fights of this card were so hard to watch. Hamdi Abdelwahab wins a decision. I don't want to talk about this anymore. This fight, oh my god. I believed in, I trusted you. And you broke me. Is that Maxim, dude? What the H, man? You lose to Charles Johnson. You lose to Ciryl and Bekov. We can make excuses for that. But coming out here and getting pieced up on the feet by Mitch Raposo and not being able to out-wrestle him, even though you are the better prospect and you're pretty much at home in Abu Dhabi, is inexcusable, my brother. No excuses for this. Azamat Maxim, what the hell, man? This could have been down to a botched weight cut, so I mean, if you give me the opportunity to burn myself again by picking Azamat Maxim in his next fight, I'm probably going to do it. But on the feet, he was getting his head boxed off by Mitch Raposo, who was dumping a really strong jab on him, landing overhands, landing hooks on the inside. Azamat Maxim was wrestling, and it was kind of working through 5 minutes, but he was getting a lot of these shots stuffed anyways. And aside from that, Mitch Raposo was just getting up every single time that Azamat Maxim would get the fight to the ground. Azamat Maxim looked so ineffective in everything that he tried to do in this fight, and I just watched him lose round after round after round. After narrowly scoring the first round to him, he lost the 2 afterwards subsequently, like pretty handedly, to Mitch Raposo, who himself didn't even look like he was going to do anything going into this fight because of his last performance against Sumadarji. We were 0-2 to get going on this card, and I was like, dude, I can't even trust the cool Kazakh prospect to win their fights anymore. What has the world come to? Imagine Mitch Raposo 30-26 Azamat Maxim in Abu Dhabi. I couldn't believe what I was watching. The reason why there was a 30-26 scorecard was because in round 3, Mitch Raposo was able to get to top positions in the grappling, and then Azamat Maxim grabbed the cage super blatantly to try to sweep and get a better position, and the ref pulled Azamat Maxim off of Mitch Raposo and took a point without even any type of discussion. I mean, it was pretty egregious, the foul, but I've seen worse penalties be committed, and there was just a really storm warning. Just yell at the guy, bro, and let them keep fighting. Put them back down on the ground with Azamat Maxim on bottom after you're done, like, verbally chastising him, dude. I feel like the point was kind of unnecessary. But, I mean, from there, it's not like Azamat Maxim was able to do anything after being stood up. I think he might have even gone for some more wrestling. Like, oh my god. This fight pissed me off thoroughly. And in this fight, too, it's like, how... I guess Mizuki doesn't have a surname, so she's just Mizuki. Jacqueline Amorim, though, like, how'd she get done like this, bro? I guess it could have something to do with Mizuki coming from Ray Longo's gym. Jacqueline Amorim does not have the strength to out-grapple certain women. And Mizuki had the physicality advantage over Amorim. I think her name was actually pronounced like Amorim. Amorim. You don't get a correct pronunciation on your name if you sell my pick over you in the women's strawweight opener. What the hell, man? Mizuki, she had the boxing advantage and the strength advantage. The strength advantage helped Mizuki stop Amorim from getting the takedowns, and the boxing advantage helped her to be able to make her shots count whenever she would throw them. There was a head clash, though, that Mizuki did absorb that ended up cutting her pretty badly. But other than that, this was such a free win for her. Round after round, Jacqueline Amorim was just getting manhandled in the clinch, and Mizuki was eating up her body with knees and shots on the inside, dropping Jacqueline Amorim with these shots on occasion. Amorim would end up on bottom positions and start attacking legs, and that was just giving Mizuki the opportunity to get control time and also just beat up Amorim whenever these were like really integral parts of the fight that she needed to win. Jacqueline just let the entire 15 minutes go right by her. Women's strawweight is so bad, and this fight just really didn't count. I just tried to shrug it off, you know. Normally getting the WMMA prelim opener like wrong at the very beginning of the card would be something that kind of keeps me up at night, but dude, no. Like water off of a duck's back. So yeah, my predictions recap. We have one Golden Freddy suit there for Weston Wilson, and we're going to add another one for Nasrat Haqparast. Go ahead and add another one for Nasrat Haqparast. Next week, we have Steve Garcia versus David Onama. Right here, I went 7-5. 7-5 on predictions, everybody. That's around a, whatever the math is there, around like 60%, maybe a little bit over 60%. We know ball over here, dude. We're some ball knowers. And this was a hard card to predict, too, because it seemed like everything was going wrong. So, I'm proud of that, at least. The last time that we were in Abu Dhabi for the Whitaker versus Rainer de Ritter card, like, shit was bad. Like, we didn't get anything right. We got the main event right, but then everything after that, nothing. Like, pretty much nothing after that. So, I can at least rejoice a little bit, you know. I'm going to go to the gym now. Tom Aspinall is a complete hype job, you guys. Cry about it in the comments if you want. I'm not sold on him whatsoever. There's no way that that's my heavyweight GOAT. Nowhere close to it. John Jones is definitely the best heavyweight champion that I've been present for in this sport. Stipe Miocic in his prime probably would have beat Tom Aspinall. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents, you guys. I'm going to catch you fellas in the next one. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to this point in the video. Peace out, my boys.